Our next session is going to be about trick or treat, dealing with synthetics. We have well-known personalities from the world's foremost authority in gemology from GIA and IGI to help us learn more about synthetic diamonds. May I now call upon on stage a very well-known and popular figure within the industry, Mr. Matthew Hall. Mr. Matthew Hall has been working for GIA for the past 13 years. He is currently the director of the GIA India Laboratory in Mumbai and has held his role since June 2008. He has a bachelor's degree in geology from Franklin and Marshall College and a master's degree in geology and geochemistry from the University of Maryland. Matt specializes in identification of natural and treated diamonds. Prior to his assignment in Mumbai, Matthew was a manager of identification services at the GIA Laboratory in New York. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Matthew Hall.
Good afternoon, everybody. I'd like to thank Mr. Rappaport as well as the rest of the Rappaport group for having me here today to talk a little bit about synthetic diamonds. I also know that I think that our two talks are the only thing keeping you from lunch, so during the break I cut out a couple slides. So today I'm going to give a quick update on an update on synthetic diamonds. Quick outline for my talk. First, I'm going to be talking a little bit about CVD grown synthetic diamonds. Then I'm going to move on to high pressure, high temperature grown synthetic diamonds. I'm going to quickly touch on something extremely new that we've just recently seen, nanopolycrystalline synthetic diamonds. And with all of these, I'm going to talk just a little bit about their identification features. I'm going to quickly touch on some of the gemological features, as well as quickly talk about some of the spectroscopic features that we use for identification. So we know that recently there's been a lot of talk about synthetic diamonds in the industry. Just recently, my colleagues at IGI, they identified several CVD or carbon vapor deposition grown diamonds, which it caused quite a scare. You know, we see a lot of headlines. You know, the gems grow out of test tubes, and diamond leaders are weary on the new gems, and man-made diamonds. The thing is, many of these headlines that we see are from over 60 years ago. You know, this isn't the first time that people have been nervous about synthetic diamonds, and I don't think it'll be the last time either. What I can say is that, and what I'm very confident in, is our ability to detect synthetic diamonds. GIA has a really long, rich history in being able to identify synthetic diamonds, and we've been working with many of the synthetic diamond producers for a long time. My slide here depicts an article that was written in 1970 by Bob Crowningshield. He worked with General Electric when they produced some of the first gem quality diamonds, and you can see a suite of diamonds from 0.3 carats to 0.78 carats. So we have a lot of experience with synthetic diamonds. So a real short chronology of synthetic developments. Basically, synthetic diamonds were first made around 1955, both CVD and high pressure, high temperature grown synthetics. And then in the 70s were when the first gem quality diamonds were made. And then the 80s through present day, there have been a lot of different producers, such as Sumitomo, Genesis, Apollo, Chatham, that GIA, we've been working with all of these producers and analyzing many of their samples to gain a very firm understanding of, again, how to identify these synthetic stones. So whenever I talk about synthetics to a group, the first thing I like to do is talk about what are synthetic diamonds. You know, synthetic diamonds are real diamonds. The only, they have the same optical, the same chemical, thermal physical properties as natural diamonds. The only thing that is different between a synthetic diamond and a natural diamond is that a synthetic diamond is grown in a laboratory, whereas natural diamonds they come from the earth. So when you talk about gem quality synthetic diamonds, there are basically there are two types that can be grown in a laboratory. And the two main types I'm going to be focusing on today. First are high pressure, high temperature grown synthetic diamonds, and this is what we've traditionally seen for quite a long time. And these are diamonds that are grown at approximately 6 gigapascals and 2,000 degrees C, and they're doped with nitrogen or boron, and with some type of flux catalyst to help them grow. And then there's also CVD diamonds, or carbon vapor deposition grown diamonds. And these are grown slightly differently. They're grown in a vacuum and much higher temperatures, anywhere between 800 to 1,000 degrees C. During my talk today, I'm going to first talk a little bit about CVD diamonds, then I'm going to move on to HPHT grown synthetic diamonds. So this is what I'm going to quickly do is talk about how CVD diamonds are grown. Essentially what you do is you start with a vessel that looks something like this, and it's brought down to a vacuum. Then there is hydrogen or methane that is basically a carbon-bearing gas that is injected into that capsule. It is heated up to a high temperature, anywhere between 800 to 1,000 degrees C, and I think I mentioned it's all in a vacuum. Then it's heated up through a microwave process where the carbon starts to disaggregate from the hydrogen species. The carbon essentially rains down on top of a substrate, and that substrate is usually some other type of diamond, synthetic diamond. So you have synthetic diamond growing on top of other synthetic diamond, and that's how you get the CVD diamond. This is a close-up looking inside of the vessel where you can see the plasma forming, and this is where the carbon would rain down on top of the other HPHT synthetic crystals inside. So this would be essentially a rough synthetic diamond. Here you can see this is the substrate where you have a high pressure, high temperature grown diamond, and then on top you can see the colorless CVD synthetic diamond that's grown on top. So you start with this HPHT synthetic diamond, and then the CVD diamond grows on top of it. And this is the top view, and this shows the nice layered view of how the diamond grows. This is a picture from a group we worked with from the University of Paris. And again, this is the HPHT portion, and then this is the CVD diamond grown on top. And you can see that many of these diamonds, you can grow a lot of them in a chamber, so it becomes a much more commercially viable option. These are some of the early products that we saw from Apollo. One of the first groups to introduce CVD synthetic diamonds was Apollo, and we were able to work with them when they first put their stones out. You can see some of their early production were quite brown in color and small, 0.1 carats to 0.3 carats. But then they worked on perfecting their process. And from about 2006, 2007, we got a new group of stones from Apollo that we were able to analyze. And you can see some of the higher colors and clarities of these stones. E to H color between 0.15 carats and 30 points. A lot like a lot of the diamonds that we see in the Mumbai laboratory that are submitted to us on a daily basis. And then recently we've also seen CVD diamonds from Genesis. These have just recently come out. And these diamonds are 0.24 carats to 0.9 carats. They're essentially colorless, IF to VS color. I will say that these diamonds, they have actually undergone another treatment process after. So these aren't as grown CVD synthetic diamonds. They've also been high pressure, high temperature treated to decolorize them afterwards. And then we also see fancy colored synthetic CVD diamonds as well. These are pink diamonds from Apollo. And again, so these are CVD synthetic diamonds that were HPH, treated through high pressure, high temperature process. Then they were irradiated, and then they were re-annealed and heated afterwards. So that's what causes this kind of pink coloration that we see. And then we've also worked with other leaders in some of the diamond growth as well. These are some stones that we were able to analyze when we've been working with DTC, De Beers. And you can see a large blue diamond, a 1.03 carat, that's doped with boron to make that blue color. But they've also been able to make other larger colorless CVD synthetic diamonds as well. And then one of the largest stones we've seen in the GIA lab is a 1.05 carat G color I1 stone. And then just recently, in the summer of 2012, we published an article on the CVD diamonds that Gemesis has been producing. So, how do you go about, so I gave some background on CVD, some of the different types of products you can see. So how do you go about identifying CVD diamonds? Well, there's two main ways we go about it in the laboratory. Obviously, one would look for gemological properties. And these are many of the types of things that many of you could potentially look at as you have diamonds come into you. So gemological properties, and I'll quickly touch on some spectroscopic properties as well. So one of the first things that you can see in some of these CVD diamonds are the inclusions. Many of them have some irregular black inclusions that are due to a deposition of a non-diamond carbon that is a result of during the growth process. And obviously these are different from many other natural inclusions that you may see inside of a diamond. For example, you would never see any type of garnet inclusion inside of a CVD diamond, which is something we see in many natural diamonds. Birefringence is another way to be able to to potentially know that you are working or you may have a CVD diamond. So that when you look at a diamond under cross-polarized light, these diamonds tend to have high birefringence, and that's opposed to other similar types of diamonds. Many CVD diamonds are type 2A or they're nitrogen poor. So other type of natural type 2A diamonds don't tend to have this type of birefringence. Fluorescence is another identification feature. These diamonds, when they're put under high-intensity UV light, like in the diamond view, they show a really strong orange fluorescence. And then also, they could have strong green fluorescence if afterwards if they've undergone any type of annealing or HPHT process as well. And then, but the real defining characteristic of a CVD diamond are the growth patterns. Here you can see, it's not ultra clear, but you can see these striations here. And you can see this growth pattern is very typical of a CVD synthetic diamonds. It's it's the layering of the carbon atoms as the diamond grows. And then another potential identifying feature of CVD diamonds is phosphorescence. Now there are certainly natural diamonds that phosphoresce, but it's quite rare. So, but many of the CVD diamonds that we have observed do show some amount of phosphorescence as well. And then, like I said, certainly the most defining way, or the best way to identify, and the most certain way to identify any type of synthetic diamond is through different types of spectroscopic processes. And these are some of the instruments that we actually have in our laboratory here in Mumbai. We've committed quite a lot of money to be able to identify different types of treatments and certainly synthetic diamonds. So we have a Raman spectrometer that we do photoluminescence with. We have a research grade FTIR, diamond view, as well as other instruments, but these are the ones that we use to identify synthetic diamonds. So the point here is some of these, in an FTIR spectrum, for example, the hydrogen peak of a natural diamond is in a different place than a hydrogen peak of a CVD diamond. And in the photoluminescence spectrum, there's some obvious peaks that are related to CVD growth. The silicon vacancy peak is something that's highly suggestive that a diamond may be CVD. So in conclusion about CVD synthetic diamonds, it's a still relatively new gem material, but there has been vast improvements in quality over the past couple of years. They come in a multitude of colors. They're still relatively small in size, about up to a carat. The clarities are flawless to VS. They're mainly produced for research purposes, but they're coming more and more into the gem industry. But I can say that they're perfectly identifiable in a properly equipped gemological laboratory. So now what I'm going to do is switch gears and talk a little bit about another type of synthetic diamond, HPHT grown synthetic diamonds. These ones have been around for several years, but there's more advancements in them all the time. Again, HPHT was first introduced in 1955, and there's been several different groups that have improved the process and have put more gem quality materials into the market. This is a typical apparatus that's used to make HPHT grown diamonds, and again, this happens at around 5 gigapascals and 2,000 degrees C. And this is just what the inside of one of the vessels would, the schematic of how the diamond growth occurs. Essentially, there's a carbon source or a graphite powder, and then there's a metal catalyst that's would contain cobalt, nickel, or iron to help the growth process, and then it starts with a seed diamond. All of this is put under high pressure and temperature, and that's when you start to get the growth of synthetic diamond. And this is a typical cubohedral form of a HPHT synthetic diamond just after it would be taken out of a vessel. And again, HPHT synthetic diamonds come in an array of different colors through either through the how they're doped with upon while they're growing. They can also be colorless as well. Take a lot longer to grow, but colorless HPHT synthetic diamonds are out there. These are some 0.4 to 0.6 carat diamonds, some high colors that we've observed in the laboratory. But then they can also be turned into different colors through different types of treatment after that they've been grown. All of these diamonds have been, so these are HPHT synthetic diamonds that have been irradiated and annealed. You can basically turn them into any color you'd like. This is one of the biggest HPHT grown synthetic diamonds. This is a 4.09 carat fancy vivid yellow VS1. I think one of the huge challenges for the gem industry, obviously, is you can grow a lot of these synthetic diamonds, and they can be quite small too, and that's where the detection becomes imperative. So this just kind of shows you how some of the sizes of these synthetic diamonds that we've analyzed, and how commercially viable they can be put into rings. And again, detecting these is not. They're certainly identifiable, but not always easy outside of a gemological laboratory. So in general, HPHT synthetics, they can be anywhere from about 1 point to 4 carats. They can be virtually any color of the rainbow, and clarities anywhere from VVS to I. And again, I'll go through a couple quick identification features for how we go about identifying synthetic diamonds, HPHT synthetics. Obviously, first are the inclusions again. Many of these synthetic diamonds have metallic inclusions inside of them. And these metallic inclusions are remnants from the fluxes that are used during growth. So you can see some of these metallic inclusions here in these stones. Another gemological property that we look at as well is the graining inside of these. They have a real obvious hourglass graining that has to do with the growth structure of the stone these diamonds and how they grow. They form along the growth boundaries. Also forming along the growth boundaries or corresponding with the growth boundaries is the color zoning as well. Here you can see all these diamonds show real unique color zoning, and these are all around the different growth boundaries in these stones. So another, and again, having to do with the growth boundaries and how these HPHT diamonds grow when you illuminate them with a high intensity UV light. You can see the growth boundaries, and these are diamond view images as well. So these are really obvious features of HPHT grown synthetic diamonds. And then again, there's spectroscopy, which is without a doubt the most obvious way to identify these stones. And here you can see different nickel-related peaks that again have to do with the catalyst that's used to grow these stones. And again, GIA has been researching and writing about synthetic diamonds since early 1970s. And we've published many different things. This is a wall chart from Gems and Gemology in winter 1995, and then we updated it in 2004, and all these things are available from GIA to help with identifications of synthetics. So then just some quick conclusions about HPHT synthetics. They're obviously becoming more viable in the trade. Through different doping agents, or post treatment, they can be found in several different colors, and and one thing I can tell you is they can certainly be identified either through gemological and without a doubt different types of spectroscopic techniques. And the last thing I want to talk about today really quickly is nano polycrystalline diamond. These are absolutely new, and they certainly haven't hit the gem industry yet. But this is a new type of a new type of synthetic diamond that we might be seeing in the future. These are basically what this is taking a real high purity graphite and pushing it together at very, very high pressures and higher temperatures, almost 3 to 4 times the pressure that's used to make HPHT grown synthetic diamonds, and higher temperatures, about 200 to 500 degrees higher than most HPHT grown diamonds. Right now, it's really only made for research applications, but there was someone who polished a diamond for us. Because it's not a single crystal diamond, it's actually multi-crystals of nano-sized polycrystalline diamond that's pushed together. It's actually virtually impossible to polish it in normal ways that we would polish diamonds. So the only way to fashion these types of diamonds is through laser cutting. But this was a 0.88 carat, brownish, deepish yellow diamond that someone gave us for analysis. It's a group that we're working with in Japan. So this might be something that we might be dealing with in the future. And again, these are identifiable too. These have a very strong red fluorescence, and there are spectroscopic features that are both in the visible spectrum and the photoluminescence spectrum that certainly help us identify these. So, in conclusion, synthetic gem quality diamonds are available in the gem trade and in a multitude of shapes, sizes, colors, and clarities. These diamonds are available as grown, or they can be treated in different ways to decolorize them or give them a different color. And unfortunately, I have to say that we've observed many cases where synthetic diamonds have been treated in an attempt to simply try to confuse us in being able to identify them as well. And these aren't treatments that are made to improve the color of the diamond, but just simply to trick us, this trick or treat. They were made to trick us so we wouldn't be able to identify these. But I can say that we've had a very long history of analyzing synthetic diamonds. We're certainly aware of these different types of treatments, and I can confidently maintain that synthetic diamonds are identifiable in any properly equipped and staffed gemological laboratory. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Hall, for your really insightful and knowledgeable presentation. It was indeed very informative. Our next speaker for the day is Mr. Mark Browner. Mr. Mark Browner worked as a diamond polisher in Antwerp in his early years and then worked as an independent diamond trader. He then spent 13 years from 1991 to 2004 with IGI Worldwide in implementation and uniformity of lab procedures. He is presently working at IGI Hong Kong, which serves as Asia Pacific's headquarters. Mr. Mark Browner was appointed in 2007 as a diamond consultant to the Belgian Ministry of Foreign Affairs by the Royal Warrant. It gives me great pleasure to invite Mr. Mark Browner on the stage. Mr. Mark Browner.
Hello, good afternoon, everyone. Thank you, Mr. Rappaport and Sons and Rappaport Company for organizing this conference and for inviting me to come and share some of the same topic that we just heard from my colleague from GIA. And actually he said it all already. I actually have not much more to say. No, that's not true. What happened, first I'll start with what happened back in May. In the month of May this year in Antwerp, at IGI Antwerp, we received a submission, undisclosed submission of about 600 CVD colorless synthetic diamonds, all ranging from 30 points to approximately 70 points, from E to FG color, VVS, VS. There were even some IF stones, and they were all either excellent or very good make. This is one of them. I would like to add a few things about CVD. It's true, I absolutely agree with my colleague. We, in a laboratory environment, can quite easily actually identify these stones, providing that all procedures as implemented in a lab like ours, like theirs, all procedures should be followed to the letter. I mean, there is no skipping procedures in the line of work we do, or else you could miss it. The problem we have to point out is that CVD colorless, and that's new, that's maybe new in the history of our industry. It's something that you in the trade cannot identify. For the most of the stones you will not be able to identify. That's the problem today. And there is a big contrast between the fact that working in the trade, even with long time experience, whether it's trading, brokering, manufacturing, you cannot identify it, and yet we in a laboratory environment, it's quite easily identified, which should be reassuring, but you have to know it. So I'll tell you the story of the 600 stones, because this is the largest ever submission of undisclosed colorless CVD synthetic diamonds that we know of. This gentleman, who is a client of ours, Antwerp trader, medium-sized company, and he travels around the world in the main centers like here, New York, Tel Aviv, and he buys goods according to the orders that he's getting from mainly the retail. So he sells mainly directly to the retail. So he went to New York, and he went to 3 suppliers that he knows, but one of which he bought the largest quantity, about 600 stones. He shipped everything back to Antwerp, went back to Antwerp, the shipment arrived, and he starts working on the orders that he has to prepare. He works a lot with IGI, but we know he also works with other laboratories, like most of our clients. And of course, when submitting to IGI, it's because his clients is asking this certificate. So one of the orders he had was urgent. So what he decided to do, this is what he told us, he decided to prepare immediately that first urgent order and he submitted it to us and told us this is extremely urgent, I have to deliver. I think it was for Malaysia. Anyway, 145 stones were submitted. From the 145, actually 140, I'm not sure it's 139 or 140, it's not so important. 140 were from that batch that he had bought in New York. And 5 additional stones were from his own stock, which correspond more or less the order. We started doing the assessment, and we very rapidly discovered one stone after the next is synthetic CVD. So we called him up, and he was very surprised, of course. And because he knew the source where it came from, he took all the other stones immediately, brought everything to us, and total that were 600 stones, and they were all CVD. We tested them all. Now, he bought it as natural. He has an invoice describing natural diamonds, Kimberley process, I mean the whole thing. The price corresponds to natural. So the first reaction, he said, was, okay, I'm going to return the goods. So we said, hang on, you cannot do that. There needs to be perhaps an investigation. I mean, just take a pause and think this through. Yeah, you're right. So I'm not going to send it back. Luckily, he did not pay yet. It was a 60 days transaction, so he didn't pay. But then if he doesn't pay, he has an open in the books, he has an invoice that is. So it was a little bit of discussion like that. What shall he do? So we decided to call the Bourse from Antwerp, the Diamond Exchange, and we called the DTC colleagues from the research center. We have a very good relation with them, and we exchange information, and we also contacted the AWDC, which is also a body who, in Antwerp, which has a certain level of authority, and we consulted each other and decided that the goods should be seized, blocked, that is, not returned, and the authorities in America, where the goods came from, were notified. We are a lab, we are not a police. We do just an assessment. When the customers submitted to us the goods every day, our job is to make an assessment to identify what it is and to describe it. After that, if there is a fraud, if there is a problem, we believe it is up to the authorities, like a diamond bourse, to take action together with the person who has the problem. Anyway, for the moment, what we know is that the FBI is on the case in New York. One little problem is that the person who sold the goods is a New York diamond dealer, used to be a DTC side holder, not any longer, but, and here comes the eye-opener, Since 2009, this gentleman became a shareholder of 51% in the largest synthetic diamond manufacturer, namely Gemesis. Ouch. So this person controls the majority of Gemesis, which is the largest synthetic diamond producer in the world, but is also trading in natural diamonds, apparently. But in one of the transactions, 600 CVD were sold as natural by the same person. So everybody would first react, aha, so this person is taking stones from his synthetic production and selling it without disclosure, but that doesn't make sense. He's shooting a bullet in his own leg. You would be running a synthetic diamond manufacturing operation. You would not sell undisclosed underground, because you put your whole reputation and your whole operation at stake. By the way, in the US, if you sell a synthetic diamond without disclosure, you go to jail, as simple as that. So it doesn't make sense. We don't know the end of the story yet. So I just wanted to share this with you. We talked about HPHT diamonds just a while back. Gemesis in the 90s introduced these stones on the market. Most of these stones are fancy colored, yellow, orange. We've seen that. They're easily, even for you, they could be quite easily identifiable if you know what to look for. The thing is that back then, when it was announced that there was a production starting of jewelry quality synthetic diamond, and that was the beginning of a real production. Before it existed since 1955, as was said earlier, but it was not produced in jewelry quality in a production mode where you could say we have everyday stones that are being grown and polished and set into jewelry, and this is becoming a product that did not exist. So when Gemesis in, I believe it was 96, I could be 1 year off, I'm not sure. When they announced they're going in full production mode, the industry protested. There were numerous conferences, seminars, discussion, and whatnot, articles. And the people, such as you, were not agreeing with this thing coming on the market. 1-2 years later, Apollo came with the CVD products, and the discussions continue. Eventually, the conclusion was that the industry better accept synthetic diamond as part of the industry, because first of all, it is diamond, and secondly, you cannot stop the evolution. The technological evolution is there, you cannot stop it, so you better embrace it. So what was decided is 3 conditions. 1, synthetic diamonds must be disclosed at point of sale, must. And it's not only to say what it is. You see, you imagine the scene, the couple enters in the shop. I love you, yes, me too. Oh, this one, no, that one. Oh, what? Man-made diamond. What is that? Oh, that's diamond. But it's made by man. Now you're saying what it is, but it's not all. Of course, you cannot police this, but what people should say is, this is made by man, it's synthetic diamond. It is diamond, but it is not grown by Mother Earth. It's not grown by nature, it's grown by men. Now you also specify what it is not. This is the proper way to sell synthetic diamond, is to say what it is and to specify what it is not. So disclosure must. Number 2, every stone, such stone, must be laser inscribed with one of the accepted terms, either synthetic, laboratory grown, man-made, or the brand name, followed by the word created. So in the case of Gemesis, Gemesis created. Okay? These are the only terms that are accepted. Some companies try to push the word cultured diamond, and this term was not accepted except by the Federal Trade Commission in the United States. I think 2 years ago they accepted finally the term, but the industry did not yet accept it. So it's not really clear where we stand on that term yet. And the last condition is every such stone must be certified. So certified, laser inscribed, and full disclosure. These are the conditions for those producers to be accepted by the industry. Now, we, IGI, have been appointed by Gemesis, that same company, since the 90s, to certify the entire production. In the beginning, it was HPHT, those kind of stones, which, as we said, are quite easily identifiable. And later, and that's recently, they started manufacturing the CVDs as well. So now they have these HPHTs, fancy colored diamonds, and they also have the colorless. They have 2 types. We see the quantities with 18 laboratories under one roof, which is what IGI is running, under one management, and we see everywhere all the submissions, what we receive. So in New York, we're certifying Gemesis entire production. In the rest of the world, we receive occasionally a submission, 1 stone, 3 stones, 5 stones, sometime with disclosure, sometime without disclosure. Sometime the submitter did not even know because he took the stone in consignment and he brought it to us and he thought it was natural diamond. So we see the statistics and we don't really see a big increase. We don't see a big increase. So this also, I don't do this just to reassure, but I think for the moment there is a bigger fuss than the actual reality. I still do believe that. I want to go back quickly to the story of what happened in Antwerp, because I forgot to mention that we also decided at the end to send an intra-laboratory alert, which is a message that we send to all the laboratories in the world, to our colleagues, to inform them about this, because this is unprecedented, such a large submission of undisclosed CVDs. And we want to make sure that none of us, including our colleagues from any other lab, will miss the identification. Understand? So we need to notify, just in case, if we receive 600 undisclosed CVDs, maybe it means that suddenly there is a huge production going on somewhere and that the market will be, you know, submerged with synthetic diamonds. We don't know that yet at that moment, but we think, suppose it's true, then we have to really alert our colleagues everywhere in the world. We were quite unhappy to read in the trade press quite a few articles mentioned IGI made a trade alert. We did not make a trade alert. I would like to point this out. This is totally different. The trade alert is me calling Mr. Martin Rappaport and saying, here, I give you a press release, can you please print it? This was not our intention. Fine, so this is Mr. Linares from Apollo. who in the late 90s announced that they're going full production with colorless CVD. They made a lot of announcements, but actually the production was not that impressive. The way it is made, we have heard from Mr. Hall, right? So I'm going to skip that part. We even have the same image, see? So these were the first, indeed, the first CVDs that came out from Apollo were brown. Now, this is interesting because Mr. Hall mentioned that you can decolorize CVDs that are brown. Why is that? Because you all know that if you have a natural type 2A, which is light brown, because it's either going to be totally colorless, or if you go down the scale of the colors, G, H, I, J, these stones are not yellow, never. Type 2s are never yellow. They become brown or pink, eventually, in nature. So if you take brown type 2, and you HPHT process it, don't confuse with HPHT synthetic. HPHT process is a treatment we do, I mean, people do on natural type 2s. We don't do, sorry. Okay, so a CVD is also type 2, and when it comes out brown, you can do the same. That means HPHT process it to remove the brown color. Anyway, in 1999, when these first stones came out, Good Morning America, which is a very famous show in the US, a TV show, they came to our lab in New York, and they wanted to know if we can identify this. We had never seen CVD before. I'm showing you a brief clip.
We want to tell you now about something brand new about to change the diamond market. A new generation of man-made diamonds hitting the market in January. And we have heard that they are so close to the real thing that even the experts get confused. So we sent our consumer correspondent, Greg Hunter, to get on the case.
3 little diamonds. One is not what it seems.
There's some interesting things in here. You see a lot of...
These diamonds were created over billions of years under immense heat and pressure deep in the earth. This diamond was created in a few days by a machine in an industrial park near Boston. It is a next-generation man-made diamond, so new it's not yet available in stores. A synthetic gem, bigger, brighter, and better than ever before.
They are real. They meet every measure of being diamond from the aesthetic point of view, from the scientific point of view. They are diamond, and so therefore they have all the properties of diamond.
2 small companies, Apollo in Massachusetts and Gemesis in Florida, claim they're taking a quantum leap forward into a new diamond age.
It has taken the art, if you will, of growing a diamond in a laboratory to a whole new level. And they have been able to do it in a manner that makes it economically feasible.
How good are these new cultured diamonds? At the International Gemological Institute, Good Morning America conducted a test, the first of its kind. We labeled 3 diamonds, A, B, and C. 2 are natural. 1 is made by the Apollo company. Can you tell which is which? The man-made stone is C, but will the experts spot the difference? First, we asked them to use only a typical jeweler's tools.
It's a diamond.
All right, gentlemen, pencils down. The diamonds, A, B, C. Fellas, which is which?
Well, we would like, because this is a test, we'd like to go to the next set of examinations.
But at this point, which is which, do you think?
Well, we would, the marquise-shaped stone, which is letter A, looks natural. B and C would like to go further.
They had their suspicions, but with only a typical jeweler's tools, these experts, among the best in the world, couldn't say for sure which of our stones was the ringer.
If these are synthetic, they're excellent.
Then they turned to sophisticated equipment found only in diamond grading labs.
There's the culprit. Yeah, this is not natural.
Right away, one gem raised a red flag.
This red fluorescence that we get out of the diamond view is characteristic of a synthetic diamond.
The moment of truth. What's the imposter? What's real? What's not?
C is the synthetic diamond.
Both companies promised their diamonds will be properly labeled, but they do recognize the potential for fraud.
I think their concern basically is they don't want this type of product to be represented as a natural stone. And that's a legitimate concern. And we have that same concern.
If someone walked into a jewelry store today with these three stones, would the jeweler have a chance of picking out the synthetic diamond?
No, no chance.
Zero.
Zero.
Come January, a whole new reason.
No chance. That was in '99, and these were the first CVDs we saw, and we picked them up. So this is just to make sure you understand that we see, we identify this. I'm going to shorten a little bit, but it's important that you also understand when you submit diamonds to a lab, you submit it first and foremost because you want to know the color, the clarity, the make, the fluorescence, all the value factors that will allow you to do commerce. But before we even start to look at those things, we do all sorts of scientific tests. It's only when we know the stone is natural and untreated that we go over the assessment of color and clarity and so on. I'm skipping a part here because it will be similar than what was shown earlier. CVD is grown in layers, and that's why you see those lines. This is what a type 2A looks like when it's natural, under the diamond view. Now, these images that you saw before and now with those lines, you cannot see this with a loop. You cannot see this with a microscope. You need that instrument, that 50, 60,000 US dollar diamond view made by the DTC. So if you decide to buy one and you get a few sample stones, you could get the gist of it and know how to identify. You would never want to identify every stone because you only need to test type 2As. So first what you have to do is to know you have a type 2A. Once you know you have a type 2A, you want to know is it a natural type 2A or a natural HPHD processed, that's a treated type 2A, or is it a CVD, laboratory grown synthetic type 2A. So it's not very complicated, but you need the procedures as in a laboratory. That was my point. More and more customers are submitting their diamonds prior to mounting. You do know that we certify a lot of jewelry everywhere in the world where we operate. We do not only certify loose diamonds or colored stones, but also jewelry. And so this is how we get the goods oftentimes. And then we do the analysis and the grading, and later these same stones come back in mounting. So now we can say on the report, grading and analysis was carried out before and after mounting. And that's quite reassuring as well. See another example of a quite extensive necklace. Which will come back once it's mounted. This was a collateral payment. A client of ours came to us and said, someone owes me money, he's paying with this necklace, but before I accept, I want you to test. All the yellow, orangey, brownish stones are synthetic, and this we see from time to time as well. 1 to 2 points, full cut, everything is synthetic. Now the problem is not so much these stones, but it's the CVD again. I come back to CVD quickly because remember they are colorless, they are cut very nicely, and just recently we learned and saw stones that are below 20 points. Now so far all the CVD we had seen, the colorless ones, were above 20 points, 25 points. Usually we would never see 25 points, lower than 25 points. And the reason we believe for this is that it is not economically feasible to start cutting CVDs of very small size, like 10 point, 5 points. We thought so far, and I tend to still believe it's the case, where we're studying it, we're doing research and looking into the case. We believe that there is not, or at least not yet, a real big production of CVD smaller than 20 points. But we saw stones lately of 2, 3, 5 points. Not many, just a few. Here are a few samples. And, well, let me put this one. Do I have a... Okay, you see the 3 light blue stones on the top are CVD. The 2 below, the slightly darker blue, are natural. So this is a mixed parcel of full cut, 5, 6, 7 points, something like that. You have a red stone there on the top right, and now it turned green. And this one is also CVD plus treated. Yes, so when we certify jewelry, also when we are unable to assess in the mounting, we will not hide behind the sentence grading and analysis as mounting permits. As the mounting allowed us, we believe this and that. No, if we have the slightest doubt, we'll have to unmount the stones. And in certain type of jewelry, you cannot unmount, because if you unmount, you break the whole piece. Like those, you cannot. So there are jewelry items which we say to our customers, sorry, we cannot certify this. I'm going to briefly finish with this. Now, I know that this is sensitive in India because people don't eat meat, don't eat cows. Cows is sacred, so I'm not trying to be disrespectful at all, but there is a concept here. You very well know that people in the West eat meat. You will understand in a minute why I'm talking about this. 2 weeks ago, I found this article on CNN. Lab-grown meat is going to be introduced. That's new. And they're very clear. If you can read from where you are, now a US scientist says he's closer than ever to achieving the technological breakthrough. What's more, he believes the market for his lab-grown meat does exist. Okay? And now this is where I find it becomes very interesting. The UN Food and Agricultural Organization estimated that 18% of global greenhouse emissions are accounted for by the livestock sector. Okay? And demand for meat is predicted to double over the 40 years. So 18% today of the greenhouse, of the pollution, of all the ecological problems comes from livestock. I know this is not a popular subject in India, I repeat. I know this is even sensitive, but I think you should know, because there is a parallel. It's not sustainable. This is what they say. We are destroying this planet with intensive meat production. So now you think 1 second in the West, the consumer. How is the consumer thinking? I was in the plane last night on my way to Mumbai, and I was reading the Financial Times. It's unbelievable because I see it everywhere now. I want to show you this. Because we are talking about identification and, oh my God, we're not going to identify. Don't worry, the labs can identify. This is something that not many people have thought about. Protect the planet is everyone's job. Can you see that? protect the planet is everyone's job. So, what am I getting at? I'm getting at consumers that are increasingly being seduced by products with arguments that plead for saving the planet, ecology. Now, this is meat. They're saying, when we come out with that synthetic meat, you who eat burgers and beefsteak and so on, you come and try. And if you like it, and if we can prove it's not unhealthy, then you will think twice before you eat the natural beef. Because if you continue after that to eat natural beef, you are going to contribute to the 18% of greenhouse emissions. Right? That's what they're saying. It's a strong argument. Now see the website of Gemesis. Environmentally friendly. These are the arguments. As massive diamond mining operations are not in pace with increasing consumer consciousness, Gemesis Diamond Company is proud to offer diamonds grown in a controlled environment, resulting in a smaller carbon footprint. Blah, blah, blah. You can look it up. And then the second paragraph, guaranteed conflict-free. These are arguments, ladies and gentlemen, that serve to convince the consumer that synthetic diamonds are a very strong alternative. And then at the bottom of each page, all diamonds from Gemesis are lab created, guaranteeing a socially and ecologically responsible point of origin. What I'm saying, and thank you for your attention, but what I'm saying is watch out, because the traditional industry has to think of ways not to lose the way it has been seducing the consumer for hundreds of years, I would say. Today, it's not like 100 years ago when synthetic rubies and synthetic sapphires, as we learn in the gemological courses, there is one sentence which is very famous. Synthetic colored stones boosted the interest of the consumer in their natural counterparts. The fact that you had synthetic rubies boosts the interest in the natural ruby. But today it's not the same. So I'm just saying, this is my observation. Thank you very much.